Hello, my name is Jennifer Siegelman, and I am a physician in private practice in a 300-bed community hospital. Thank you for choosing to participate in this short talk entitled Radiation Stewardship, Dose Optimization through Data Collection, Evaluation, and Feedback. I will share with you the experience of our practice's close alignment with a community hospital system. I have no disclosures. During this short talk today, I hope to introduce you as an individual radiologist to an ideology and an executable plan. A paradigm shift where radiologists extend their value within an organization by leading a radiology imaging and necessity stewardship program. The radiologist is best equipped to be the champion of behavior change regarding the safe use of radiation and optimal imaging utilization in the community setting. How I, as a community radiologist, was able to leverage various parties within radiology, treating providers, traditional and non-traditional institutional stakeholders, and the real decision makers for an institution, those who are the fiduciaries and hold the purse strings for resource allocation. By describing our hospital's experiences, I hope to prepare you with some of the resources you will need to move the needle on the dial by demonstrating how a quality improvement process can be organically grown and thus widely accepted within your environment with your own resource constraints. This quality improvement program for our department has permitted the institution to recognize the value of an on-site radiologist as a consultant rather than a commodity. This paradigm is applied in this example as a variability reduction strategy that ended up as a dose optimization strategy. The idea of stewardship requires a definition. I will be defining stewardship as the duties and obligations of a person who manages something on behalf of other persons. The stewardship concept has been applied in ecology and natural resources, economics, as well as in medicine. As defined, environmental stewardship, that is, the responsibility for environmental quality shared by all whose actions affect the environment, is widely accepted. More proximally, physicians and healthcare administrators have recently accepted specialty physicians in a stewardship role at a hospital, antimicrobial stewardship provided by infectious disease specialists. Physicians and surgeons can use most antibiotics as they see fit within their practices, but occasionally there is peer-to-peer feedback and guidance from specialists that have a far greater knowledge of the risks and benefits to an individual patient, as well as to the population at large for marginally appropriate or inappropriate use of antibiotics. What I'm not advocating is a return to the radiologist as gatekeeper adversarial model, but rather the value added by expertise to improving patient care, and, in certain cases, reducing indirect and direct healthcare costs. So, looking at these paradigms, let's change the words a bit to see how they fit with the radiologist and imaging paradigms. Radiation stewardship is the responsibility for irradiating with quality and care shared by all whose actions affect the patient. Imaging necessity stewardship is a coordinated program that promotes the appropriate use of imaging, including ionizing radiation, improves patient outcomes, reduces risk of adverse events, and decreases potential harm caused by excessive use and exposure. Certainly, the healthcare climate will welcome actions by expert physicians to take hold of the reins and begin radiation imaging necessity stewardship immediately. Most of us are already viewed by some colleagues and administrators as important consultants in medical and business decision. Brains is simply an active extension of that role. The practical and executable plan for dose optimization involves some personnel and team building, some data collection, evaluation of the data, the design and implementation of an intervention, the collection of post-intervention data, and the assessment of the effectiveness of the intervention. This graph depicts the results of one project of the CT Dose Optimization Committee's work at our hospital. We were able to improve patient safety steadily by improving our ability to produce high-quality diagnostic images, which met the ACR recommended diagnostic reference level for head CT in greater and greater percentages of patients over the past 4 years. The first step in our discussion is to identify whose support will be required to launch or improve dose optimization projects at an institution. Having served at my community hospital as a radiologist for over 7 years, I had a rich cultural life within the institution, having collegial and collaborative relations within our department and with medical colleagues. In addition, I had established open dialogue with members of the C-suite, corporate administrators such as the CMO, CFO, and CEO, as well as with members of the hospital board. Those personal relationships and trust were useful to launch the program. Nowadays, one has at her hand a great resource in the Joint Commission Sentinel Event 47, with which I am sure most of you are at least acquainted. This document lays out a stylized framework for the tests which could be part of a patient radiation safety program in any environment. Written by an organization, the Joint Commission, with which administrators are accustomed to working, in a language they are used to speaking, renders the information in this document credible to administrators. In 2013, the presence of this document in the stratosphere enables any radiologist entree into the quality and safety domain, and can facilitate dialogue with leadership using keywords of alignment, patient safety, CT, Sentinel Event, and the Joint Commission. Within the Sentinel Event 47, you can find concepts, part of the radiologist vernacular, from image gently and image wisely to choose wisely, and other terms familiar to administrators and management teams, such as effective processes. The concept of safe technology is one that should resonate with you. What this means is the idea that the design of a machine can impact patient safety. And, as you may have noticed, much lower radiation doses are available in the newest machines. The idea that our departments could be made safer seems counterintuitive at first. What I mean to say is, traditional overexposure events were quite rare. However, bringing the concept of ALARA back into the forefront of our department's mission, rather than throughput or image beauty or other less patient-centric metrics. So definitely the idea of a safety culture in which we first do no harm, which is so pervasive outside of our department, into the CT control room and radiology in general, has intrinsic merit. Some institutions may have paradigms that your project can dovetail with. For example, our institution adopted a high reliability organization aim. In that context, one could become a leader in the radiology sector of the project. You would then advance the position of the radiologist into the role of consultant to administration by virtue of your leadership and expertise. This would make you less likely to be overlooked or stepped over when larger questions are at hand. The first basic step is to identify a protocol which needs improvement. This can begin with an assessment of image quality. The exams that the radiologists are least satisfied with from an image quality perspective are a nice place to begin a dialogue with peers about optimization. The peer review process can motivate as well, using images where diagnostic confidence or ability may be compromised by marginal image quality. One can also begin with dose evaluation, identifying a protocol on one scanner whose mean value exceeds the ACR diagnostic reference level. More advanced evaluations can be pursued, including exams for which multiple scanner protocols exist, dose variability, a different dose for the same test, and the observation of which examinations have objectively high exposure levels. For this type of work, I would advocate a multidisciplinary team approach. Out of the theoretical and back into the reality of a busy radiology practice at a community hospital. Once you have assembled the personnel, evaluated image quality and/or variability, it is time to do a resource gap analysis. This term is from the management literature. It identifies the differences between where you are and where you wish to be, the difference between your actual performance and potential performance. It is helpful because it presents your optimization plan in a context which administrators can understand. In order to understand the role of individual personnel in the process, one needs to clarify who knows what and is responsible for which tasks. What resources you own and what are the capabilities, potentials, and deficits of that equipment. The resources you are willing to allocate personally are also to be measured. My practice group had the ability to view this effort as potentially important to the ongoing service our group provides to the hospital and to patients, and maintaining our relationship as individuals and as a group deeply embedded within the fabric of the community hospital. Once the contracted radiology group demonstrated this commitment to invest, the hospital made comparable infrastructure investments. We formed a CT dose optimization committee in the winter of 2009, made up of technologists, radiologists, an administrator, medical physicist, and an administrative assistant. Our strategy involved prepared participants meeting quarterly on site, having roundtable meetings with a deliberately loose agenda so that each individual at the table felt compelled to participate. After each individual left the meeting, they had a task list of what to be done, and over the short interval or the long interval until the next meeting. Here I've displayed a portion of the process diagram we eventually created. The participants at the right include the hospital administrator, medical physicist, technologist, and radiologists. The columns represent the phases of the initial project, that is, preparation, meeting at a roundtable, development and launch of a pilot, implementation of a derivative protocol, dissemination of the protocol across machines, radiologists, and technologists, and the final phase of measurement and evaluation of value. The quantification of results is shown here for the initial CT dose optimization committee's first meetings at a labor cost of over $12,000. Our initiative has improved care over time, in this example protocol and in many others. Due to new dose monitoring tools, we have been able to improve our quality at lower cost to the institution. The real result of this endeavor, however, was much broader than this. By measuring our gains and quantifying our labors, we were able to put together a succinct summary of what the benefits and costs really were. This method allowed us to demonstrate for our administration the value gleaned for the resources outlaid. Fueled by newspaper reports of patient injury from CT and armed with the understanding of the manual labor involved at our facility, the administration was all ears when it came to our suggestions to procure reasonably priced tools which could yield more reproducible results, lending scalability to our project. At this point, our administrators, too, were joining with us, the radiologist and the radiology department, in the stewardship model. From that point forward, the safety features in CT scan units were increased in priority in purchasing. Administrators were amenable to the investment in dose monitoring and auditing tools, which enable us to improve the culture of safety on the whole. Having administrators and working technologists on the team from the outset meant that we really never had to ask for participation in anything. We had generated an excitement about patient safety that resonated with all. The organically created metrics by in-house team members had helped us to have a sustainable model in which even middle managers enjoy taking time from their day to participate. Over the last year, we installed an automated dose auditing tool, which has given us additional metrics and methods of slicing the data to evaluate for unnecessary overuse of radiation-performed studies. And this year, we are moving forward with the idea of stewardship in the imaging necessity domain, strategizing about our role as valuable contributors to a shared risk organization. I hope to leave you today with the understanding that identifying yourself as an expert steward of radiation and the necessity of imaging will position you as a valuable manager.